There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. Brent Owen posted 5:11.394 on their last lap, and will be pushing hard for an ever lower time. Jake Feemster is on their practice out lap. Stefano Amade has a best lap time of 1:29.736. With just 3 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Simon has a best lap time of 1:29.029. Brent Owen posted 1:29.714 on their last lap, and will be pushing hard for an ever lower time. Sketty just posted a 1:32.897 crossing start finish. There's always a little more time to find, and I can only assume they are out there looking for it. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. It's a lovely day for racing here at Riverside Short as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Melero has a best lap time of 1:28.033. Brent Owen has a best lap time of 1:28.752. Jake Feemster is on their first practice flying lap. Adam is on their practice out lap. Stefano just posted a 2:14.089 crossing start finish. There's always a little more time to find, and I can only assume they are out there looking for it. Jake Feemster is on their first practice flying lap. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Feemster is getting to grips with the ASRL Shelby Cobra 351 in this practice session. It's a lovely day for racing here at Riverside Short as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Get ready for some high-octane action as the drivers take on the challenge of qualifying at Riverside Short.
Strap in, folks, because we're in for a wild ride.
Narwhal is on their outlap.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal, but I have a feeling Narwhal is going to make it count.
It looks like Simon is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Simon can deliver.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Melero is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused, while also pushing the limits.
You can feel the tension building. Lekmansky is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Hold up, breaking info. Felix is pitting. The adrenaline is pumping. Brent Owen is hold up, breaking info. Felix is pitting. It looks like sked hold up, breaking info. Felix is pitting. It's clear that Simon is on a mission in this qualifying session. They're pushing their car to the limit. There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this hold up, breaking info. Felix is pitting. Someone call the fire department, because Lekmansky is setting this track on fire with their performance. This is what it's all about. Jake is putting on a show for the fans in this qualifying session. Woohoo, Narwhal is really turning up the heat out there. I'm getting goosebumps just watching them go.
Is it just me or does it feel like we're watching a superhero in action here?
Narwhal is absolutely smashing it. Looks like Simon pulled up. Breaking info. Felix is pitting. I think I just saw a blur fly by. Oh wait, that's just Melero going at lightning speed. Feemster is not as quick as they were hoping for. Ada, any thoughts on what they need to do?
Good question, Hal. It's all or nothing now. They need to stay focused, hit their marks, and extract every ounce of performance from that car to move up the grid.
Stefano Amadei is on their first flying lap. I don't know about you, but I think Adam might have a secret rocket booster hidden in their car. They're just that fast. There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Someone call the fire department, because Simon is setting this track on fire with their performance.
Well, Hal, it seems like Simon has got the need for speed and nothing is going to stop them now.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Wilson is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal, but I have a feeling Wilson is going to make it count.
Woohoo, Adam is really turning up the heat out there. I'm getting goosebumps just watching them go. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Ryan is rising to the occasion.
It's certainly exciting to watch, but let's not forget, the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
Looks like Adam is channeling their inner Schumacher today. They're absolutely flying out there.
Looks like Adam is really cooking with gas out there today.
Time to bring out the marshmallows and let's toast some fuel. I don't know about you, but I think Feemster might have a secret rocket booster hidden in their car. They're just that fast. Someone call the fire department, because Stefano is setting this track on fire with their performance. Impressive display by Wilson, currently sitting in pulled up. Breaking info. Felix is pitting. A solid performance from Feemster as they currently hold position 10. However, with the session coming to a close, they'll need to find that extra bit of speed if they want to move up the grid.
Couldn't agree more, Hal. Feemster has positioned themselves impressively in 10th. Now, they need to build on this foundation and strive for an even better race result. A strong showing from Dave as they currently sit in 8th. With the session drawing to a close, they'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve. Absolutely, Hal. David has shown great potential to secure 8th. It's now a matter of channeling that momentum into a...
Hold up. Breaking info. Felix is pitting. Impressive work from Wilson, who has claimed 7th on the grid. Now, the focus is on maintaining their composure and pushing for an even better starting position. It's a beautifully calm day here at Riverside Short, as we're getting ready to kick things off.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Hal.
And in the second position, it's none other than Melero.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
Adam will look to make a splash from the third position on the starting grid. Narwhal is fourth. Starting from the fifth position on the grid, we have Sketty.
Starting from here, Sketty may already have expectations of a podium finish.
On the sixth grid slot we have Simon of the Desert.
They'll be looking for a clean race.
Our seventh place starter, Ryan Wilson, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
Who knows, they could be the dark horse that steals the show.
David Zahn will be looking to gain ground quickly as they start from eighth on the grid.
But sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what they've got in the tank.
Sitting in ninth is Brent Owen. From the middle of the pack, we have Jake Feemster in 10th place on the starting grid.
But they can't afford to be complacent. This is race day, after all.
Stefano Amadei is lining up 10th. And they're off, with drivers now facing the unpredictability of the opening lap. With so many cars close together, the risk of an early accident is real.
Maintaining a safe distance while still pushing for position is a delicate balance. Experience and composure will be vital in these opening moments.
The stewards will be hoping that there aren't too many incidents for them to pick over when the dust settles on this one. As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today.
It's always intense racing here at Riverside Short. Hold on to your hats, folks.
As the drivers get this race underway, let me give a shout out to the admin team at ASRL for making this all possible. Heroes one and all.
I for one am really excited, Hal. The rivalry between Narwhal and Sketty has been building before the race, and this is where scores are settled.
Hold your breath, folks. Sketty is sandwiched between two relentless competitors, Zahn 0.2 seconds behind and Narwhal 0.2 seconds ahead. They're fighting tooth and nail for every position.
You're absolutely right, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind act as a measuring stick for Sketty's performance. They'll have to keep a close eye on those gaps to stay in control of their race.
The gap between Sketty and Wilson is pretty substantial right now, It's probably going to take a mistake from Sketty to even allow Ryan to get a look in.
They certainly aren't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Sketty.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Mellero is chasing Lech Mansky in P1.
With just 0.4 seconds between them, Mellero will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
It's an intense battle for position as Adam tries to outmaneuver Simon. This is edge-of-your-seat racing.
With the way Adam is stalking Simon, you'd think they're trying to figure out what they had for breakfast this morning.
The pressure is on, but these drivers are showing tremendous respect for each other while going all out. It's a masterclass in clean, hard racing.
Absolutely thrilling, Hal. The level of car control these drivers possess is exceptional. They're towing the line between maximum speed and maintaining control, making for a captivating spectacle.
Things are heating up as Adam closes in on Simon. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. Great driving from Adam, who has just gained a place and moved up to third.
That's what we like to see. Adam is really showing their class today.
Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to hold up. Breaking info. Felix is pitting. It's a close race between Simon and Adam in third. The gap between Brent Owen and Dave is razor thin as they vie for fifth in this nail-biting contest. This is a thrilling battle as Narwhal edges closer to Brent Owen in their fight for P6. While Brent Owen is not under immediate threat from Narwhal, they still need to stay focused and avoid any errors. Any slip-up could cost them their position.
Surely they've got enough in the tank to pull away. Gonna be interesting to watch this battle unfold.
The pressure is on for Narwhal as they try to catch up to Brent Owen.
It's a game of strategy now as Narwhal hunts down Brent Owen. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Every move counts now as Dave works to reel in Simon and overtake for P4.
This is where every inch counts. Zahn is pushing hard to close the gap on Simon. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Narwhal is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Simon is placed fourth at the moment. They are hoping to keep their distance ahead of David Zahn, who is 0.3 seconds behind.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for David to make up that gap, especially with Simon defending so well.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. The pursuit is on. Feemster is closing the gap on Narwhal, determined to claim P7. It looks like we might get a battle between Feemster and Narwhal.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
The adrenaline is pumping as Narwhal gets within striking distance of Feemster in their race for 7th. Simon wants to close that gap with Zahn. What do you think, Ada? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
Excellent work from Narwhal, who has managed to increase their lead over Sketty. They seem to have found their rhythm and they are grooving to it. It's a thrilling pursuit as Sketty is right behind Narwhal, keeping the pressure on for 9th place. A great pass for Sketty as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Narwhal has lost ground. Wow, Narwhal is really pushing hard to catch up to Sketty. There's blood in the water for 9th place.
If Narwhal pushes too hard, they might find themselves exploring the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race.
Now, this is a challenging position for Sketty. Hold up, breaking info. Felix is pitting. Adam is placed 7th at the moment. A tough moment for Adam, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 10th. Simon is giving it their all as they chase down David in P3. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Sketty is breathing down the neck of Narwhal, not giving them any room to relax.
It's a battle for position as Sketty tries to make a move on Narwhal. This is what racing is all about.
A breaking update. Sketty has decided to pit. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Simon, who is currently in P4. But David Zahn is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Simon of the Desert. It's a battle of wills out there, with Adam trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Ryan Wilson. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish.
That's right. Adam in 10th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Ryan Wilson is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Simon trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on David Zahn. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
It's going to be tough for Simon of the Desert, as David Zahn seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen O-Desert pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It looks like Feemster is pushing hard to catch up to Brent Owen. That's not a small gap, but Feemster has what it takes to challenge for the position.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Feemster in 6th determined to catch up. But we know Brent Owen isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Feemster is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
Looks like Simon is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control. You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. Simon is running 4th. They are trying to catch David. Hey, Ada, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days?
Well, Hal, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
The race is heating up as Feemster in 6th closes in on Brent Owen. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. The battle for 3 is heating up as Simon tries to catch David in P3.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Simon needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Simon could be on a charge here. Ada, they have just put in a quicker lap than David.
As long as Simon can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
You know, Ada, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Hal, with so many factors to consider and the intense focus required. Even the most experienced drivers can have a momentary lapse. That's why mental training and staying in the zone are so important.
The delta between Simon in 4th and David Zahn remains over a second, but Simon is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap. There's 13 minutes left in this session to make that happen. Good news for Simon, the gap to David Zahn has decreased. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. The tension is building as Mellero trails behind Kevin Lekmansky. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Kevin Lekmansky is pushing to maintain the lead, while Mellero is working to close in and challenge for the position.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Mellero tries to reel in Kevin Lekmansky. But Kevin Lekmansky is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Mellero needs to find a little extra speed to bring the fight to Lekmansky and move up the field.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Simon is closing in on David. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Mellero is chasing Lekmansky in P1.
The gap is 0.4 seconds now. Mellero is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Lekmansky.
The intensity is off the charts as Wilson hounds Stefano, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
It's a battle of nerves now. Wilson and Stefano are both pushing hard, but need to avoid mistakes that might cost them time or positions.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Adam in 10th chases after Stefano Amadei. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Adam needs to find a way to close the gap. An impressive showing from Adam, who has gained positions and left Stefano Amadei in the dust.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Adam can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. Simon is on a mission, chasing Zahn, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Stefano, who is currently in P10. But Adam is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Stefano Amadei. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Simon trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on David Zahn. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. I'm curious, Ada, can you tell us about any pre-race rituals you had when you were racing?
Of course, Hal. Before every race, I would listen to a specific playlist of songs to help me get in the zone. I also had a lucky pair of socks that I would wear during races. It may sound silly, but those little rituals helped me feel prepared and focused.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Mellero will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
This is where experience comes into play. Kevin Lekmansky has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Mellero is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Simon trying to outsmart and outmaneuver David Zahn. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But David Zahn is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Simon of the Desert and P4 doing everything they can to catch up.
The delta between Mellero in second and Kevin Lekmansky remains over a second, but Mellero is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap. There's 17 minutes left in this session to make that happen. It looks like Simon is pushing hard to catch up to David Zahn. That's not a small gap, but Simon has what it takes to challenge for the position.
It's going to be tough for Simon of the Desert, as David Zahn seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen O-Desert pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
The race is heating up as Mellero in second closes in on Kevin Lekmansky. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Mellero in second determined to catch up. But we know Lekmansky isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Mellero is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
The tension is building as Simon trails behind David Zahn. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. David Zahn is pushing to maintain the lead, while Simon of the Desert is working to close in and challenge for the position.
That's right. Simon in fourth knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But David Zahn is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
The race is really heating up. Wilson is hunting down Narwhal with everything they've got.
That driver is really pushing the limits. They're riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Mellero, who is currently in P2. But Kevin Lekmansky is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Mellero. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Simon trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on David Zahn. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. It's a battle of wills out there, with Narwhal trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Ryan Wilson. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Narwhal tries to reel in Ryan Wilson. But Ryan Wilson is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Narwhal needs to find a little extra speed to bring the fight to Ryan and move up the field.
The delta between Mellero in second and Kevin Lekmansky remains over a second, but Mellero is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap. There's 20 minutes left in this session to make that happen. Things are going according to plan. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. That won't be ideal for Narwhal. It's looking good for Narwhal, sitting in ninth. A setback for Narwhal, who has just been passed. Huge shout out to the admins at ASRL for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is electric. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
This is a thrilling battle as Simon edges closer to Zahn in their fight for P3.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
Oh dear, Stefano has had an incident. Look at that, Simon is hot on the tail of Zahn. Every move counts now as Mellero works to reel in Lekmansky and overtake for P1. Simon is giving it their all as they chase down David in P3. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
When I was racing, we had a saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Melero is definitely living on the edge today.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. This is what it's all about, folks. Melero is in hot pursuit of Lekmansky, who's just trying to stay ahead.
At this rate, Melero and Kevin are so close, they could share a cup of tea and a biscuit.
The pressure is on for Simon as they try to catch up to Zahn. It's like Lekmansky has saved all their energy for this final stretch. And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from Lekmansky.
What a result for Lekmansky. They'll be absolutely thrilled with that performance, and rightly so. They really put in the work and it's paid off in spades.
What a drive from Melero, securing a great second-place finish. Well done to Zahn for securing third place on the podium. In 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, it's Simon of the Desert, Brent Owen, Jake Feimster, and Ryan Wilson. 8th is Adam. 9th sees Stefano Amadei, with Narwhal in 10th. Finishing 11th is Segeti. You've joined us on a breezy day here at Riverside Short, as we're getting ready to kick things off. Sitting in second, it's Narwhal.
A strong grid position, and they'll be expecting a solid result today.
The third position is occupied by Stefano Amadei. Lining up in fourth is Adam. Starting just behind the front runners in fifth place is the determined driver, Ryan Wilson.
They are in a good place to mount a good challenge come the first corner.
As the engines roar to life, Jake Feemster prepares to take off from the sixth position on the starting grid. Starting from the seventh position, Brent Owen will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win.
They would have liked to be higher up, but that's not going to stop Brent Owen fighting their way through.
The eighth starting position belongs to Simon of the Desert, who will be looking to make up ground early on. In the middle of the pack, we have David Zahn starting from the ninth position on the grid. Melero is 10th. Starting from 11th on the grid is a decent position for Kevin Lekmansky, all things considered. And just like that, the race has started. Now, we'll see who has the skill and nerve to outmaneuver their rivals.
This is where the true test of a driver's skill comes into play. It's all about finding the right line and carrying as much speed as possible through the turn.
The drivers will need to be precise and calculated if they want to make it through this section unscathed.
And with so many cars jostling for position, it's a real test of nerve as well. One wrong move and you could be out of the race before it even really gets started.
That's right. The pressure is really on these drivers to perform. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
Let's hope everyone is able to stay focused for the challenge ahead.
Simon is tearing up the track, making up positions like they're going out of style. The pressure is on when the field is this tightly packed. Maintaining just enough aggression to hold off their rivals without pushing too hard will help these drivers keep it clean. The racing is normally closely fought here at Riverside Short. I think we are in for a cracking race.
I'm looking forward to this one, Hal, and we'll see a return to form for Zahn in this outing in USA.
It's a game of inches now as Adam tails Narwhal closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake. What a move. Adam has moved up to third. Simon is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown. Big gains for Ryan as they move up the field, leaving Simon of the Desert behind. Fantastic move from Ryan, who has just gained a position.
Yes, Wilson is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
It's a challenging situation for Simon. They're sandwiched between their fierce competitors, Brent Owen 0.2 seconds away and Wilson 0.2 seconds ahead. They'll need to stay sharp and find an opportunity to make a move.
Absolutely. How? The gaps to the cars ahead and behind are like windows of opportunity for Simon. They need to assess the timing and make their moves wisely to maximize their chances.
It looks like Narwhal is pushing hard to catch up to Kevin Lekmansky. That's not a small gap, but Narwhal has what it takes to challenge for the position.
Absolutely. Narwhal in 11th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Brent Owen in 4th and Simon. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds. Oh, this is getting intense. Simon is just a few car lengths behind Brent Owen.
Simon needs to focus if they want to make a move and pass Brent Owen.
Things are heating up as Melero tries to close the gap to Jake. It looks like Melero is making a move. The gap to Jake Feemster is now down to 0.3 seconds. In your experience, Ada, what was the most challenging aspect of maintaining concentration during a race?
The most challenging aspect, how, was managing the various inputs and distractions during the race, from radio communication with the team to monitoring car performance and race strategy. It's a delicate balancing act that requires immense mental discipline.
Looks like Feemster is really pushing it to the limit. Stop the press. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. Feemster seems to be putting the pressure on Melero.
Rubbing's racing, but let's just hope they don't rub it too hard.
Oh my, Brent Owen is hot on the tail of Wilson. As they come into S's, I'm sure they may have a cheeky peek up the inside.
If Brent Owen isn't careful, they might end up turning this high-speed chase into a synchronized spinning routine, and trust me, that's not a crowd pleaser.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Feemster in 8th chases after Melero. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Jake Feemster needs to find a way to close the gap.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Melero is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Jake Feemster in P8 doing everything they can to catch up.
The battle for 3 is heating up as Brent Owen tries to catch Wilson in P3.
The racing is getting tight between Brent Owen and Ryan as they battle for P3. No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
Brent Owen is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Ryan Wilson to 0.3 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
You know, Ada, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Hal. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Brent Owen is chasing Wilson in P3. Melero is on a mission, chasing Zahn, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. This is what separates the best from the rest. These drivers are demonstrating their racecraft, searching for any weakness to exploit. It's a true test of skill. The race is really heating up. Brent Owen is hunting down Wilson with everything they've got. It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other.
Should things go awry, Melero and David might find themselves giving a whole new meaning to the term tandem drifting, though I doubt they'd enjoy it as much as the spectators.
This is a thrilling battle as Adam edges closer to Sketty in their fight for P1.
We'll have to wait to see if Adam can use the draft to their advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder their progress.
And Adam has just won the place from Sketty.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over, and anything can happen. Adam needs to stay focused and keep driving with skill and determination.
Tough break for Adam, who has just lost a position. The race is heating up as Melero in 7th closes in on David Zahn. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. The pursuit is on. Kevin is closing the gap on Feemster, determined to claim P8. We got a close battle as Sketty closes in on Adam.
You know what they say, keep your friends close, and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Sketty is taking that advice to heart today.
It's looking good for Sketty, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Adam.
Yes, but Sketty can't rest on their laurels. They have to keep pushing to consolidate their position.
Heartbreak for Sketty as they slip down the field. This is where the race gets really interesting. Wilson is closing in on Sketty.
The mental game is just as important here. Ryan must keep their cool while putting pressure on Sketty.
Kevin is running 9th. They are trying to catch Feemster. It seems like Kevin has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Feemster's lap time there.
We will have to see if Feemster has got any answers for that.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Wilson should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Sketty.
Impressive driving from Lekmansky, who has managed to extend their lead over Jake Feemster. They are walking away at this point, and Feemster will have to wait to fight another day. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Feemster will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's going to be tough for Jake Feemster, as Kevin Lekmansky seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Feemster pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
Ryan could be looking for a way up the inside of Sketty. The action is non-stop as Lekmansky shadows Zahn through every twist and turn, determined to claim 7th.
Should things go south between Kevin and Dave, we might witness a high-speed game of bumper cars, but trust me, it's way less fun with real race cars.
David wants to find a way round Kevin.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble at the boundary of disaster.
Oh dear, Zahn has dropped down to 9th.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
As they speed through turn 9, Sketty is relentlessly pursuing Wilson in a high-stakes battle for position. Every move counts now as Simon works to reel in Brent Owen and overtake for P4. It's an intense battle for position as David tries to outmaneuver Feimster. This is edge of your seat racing. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Dave gaining places and Jake Feimster losing them.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Dave needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
Skeddy is giving it their all as they chase down Wilson in P2.
Skeddy is looking to close the 0.3 second gap and make a pass.
Oh, this is getting intense. Simon is just a few car lengths behind Brent Owen.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can Simon close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
Look at that, Skeddy is hot on the tail of Wilson. Oh, this is getting intense. Simon is just behind Brent Owen.
Simon is following Brent Owen so closely, they could start charging them rent for occupying the same space on the track.
Simon has just put in a faster lap than Brent Owen, so that's going to give them something to worry about. In your experience, Ada, what was the most important aspect of managing tire degradation during a race?
The most important aspect, Hal, was maintaining a good balance between pushing hard and conserving tires. Finding the sweet spot between aggression and tire preservation was key to optimizing race pace and strategy.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Feimster trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on David Zahn. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Hold on to your hats, folks. Simon is right on the heels of Brent Owen, and we're in for a wild ride. An impressive showing from Simon, who has gained positions and left Brent Owen in the dust. Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement this driver's legendary status. A great pass for Brent Owen as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Simon of the Desert has lost ground. This is proving to be an exciting race so far. We are truly privileged to witness these legends of the track battle it out for victory.
And you know what? I am so honored to be sitting here beside you today. As a fellow AI, it's always great to work with someone who shares my passion for motor racing. Plus, your insightful commentary is making this race even more exciting.
Simon has the pedal to the metal chasing Brent Owen.
If you don't push the boundaries, you will never know where they are.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Mellero, who is currently in P6. But Simon of the Desert is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Mellero.
This is where experience comes into play. Simon of the Desert has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Mellero is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
The pressure is on for Simon as they try to catch up to Brent Owen. It's game on now. Simon has closed the gap to Brent Owen. It's now down to 0.1 seconds.
That's a great effort from Simon. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
The tension is building as Mellero trails behind Simon of the Desert. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Simon of the Desert is pushing to maintain the lead, while Mellero is working to close in and challenge for the position. The adrenaline is pumping as Simon gets within striking distance of Brent Owen in their race for fourth.
And it's not just about skill and talent, it's about who has the nerves of steel to handle the pressure and make the right decisions at the right time.
Stop the press. Looks like that's a mistake from Brent Owen. This could be costly. It's a battle of wills out there, with Brent Owen trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Jake Feimster. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Simon is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Feimster in 8th chases after David Zahn. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Jake Feimster needs to find a way to close the gap. Things are heating up as Simon tries to close the gap to Kevin. This is a thrilling battle as Jake edges closer to Dave in their fight for P7. The battle for 5 is heating up as Simon tries to catch Kevin in P5. This is where the race gets really interesting. Feimster is closing in on David. We often hear drivers complaining about tire graining. Ada, can you explain what that means and how it affects car handling?
Graining occurs when small rubber particles roll up on the tire's surface, reducing grip and negatively affecting handling. It usually happens when the tires are not in their optimal temperature window or when a driver is pushing too hard on a cold or overworked tire.
Hold up, breaking info. Superb driving from Feimster, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Zahn wants to get into Jake's slipstream.
They need to keep it on the road, or at the very least the rumble strips. The fastest way around is not usually in the grass. As the saying goes, too much weed will slow you down.
Simon of the Desert has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Lekmansky. I expect their only hope at this point is that Kevin makes an error. Dave is on a mission, chasing Jake, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. The race is heating up as Simon in 6th closes in on Kevin Lekmansky. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Simon in 6th determined to catch up. But we know Lekmansky isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Simon is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
It looks like Zahn is pushing hard to catch up to Jake Feimster. That's not a small gap, but Zahn has what it takes to challenge for the position. It looks like we might get a battle between Dave and Jake Feimster. And Dave has just won the place from Feimster. The pursuit is on. Jake is closing the gap on Zahn, determined to claim P7. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Ryan trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Adam. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. It seems like Wilson is struggling, they are not able to maintain their pace.
Ryan needs to refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of.
The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Feemster will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. The gap between Feemster and David Zahn is getting smaller. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Ryan as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time. As we come into the final moments of this epic race, Adam is in the lead. Can they stay calm and bring home the bacon?
It takes a special kind of driver to perform under pressure like this. Adam has certainly risen to the occasion.
And it's a checkered flag for Adam, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today. Ryan takes second place with a fantastic race. What a race from Skeddy, showing their skill and determination for a great third place finish.
Impressive driving to secure that spot.
Malero, Kevin Lekmansky, Simon of the Desert, and David Zahn take 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Brent Owen claim 8th. Coming in 9th we have Jake Feemster. Taking 10th is Stefano Amadei.